Welcome everyone to Visionary Psychics. I'm Sara Wiseman, and today I'm with Laura Pladson, who is one of the Visionary Psychics, and we're just going to chat a little bit about sort of how Laura has come to this work and kind of her own personal interpretation of how it works for her. So welcome, Laura. And
Thank you.
you've been a practicing psychotherapist for a long time. Is that correct? Is that what I
Yes, a counselor, a
A
licensed
counselor.
counselor.
Okay.
I was a counselor for about 25 years and worked in areas of abuse and assault and neglect. And then the end part of that career in an elementary school. So had a lot of experience with the counseling, but it wasn't my passion. It wasn't where my soul lied. I really needed to You're kind of confined when you
Mhm.
have a license, and I needed to just be free of that. And so I let that go so I could truly just expand into the areas that I'm most interested in.
Yeah, that idea of you're in a structure or a system, which is super valuable, but at a certain point you felt the call to do something different. And how does it work for you now when you're receiving information from the other realms? Um, I don't know, is there a way that you can put into words how that's different, like your experience of receiving or communicating? How is it different for you now?
Um, well, I've always been interested in those things. Since I was a teenager, I've been exploring and learning and practicing. But I realized that just letting go of that structure that kind of confined me really allowed my third eye, if you want to call it, to open up, and my experience of knowing and seeing things. And I guess the best way I would describe how I get information, I can use an example of a client I had recently. She said I could kind of use her session as an example because
Perfect.
what we do is I call in our team of helpers, my team and my client's team, and we just kind of get grounded and settled in, do just a mini meditation to calm the body and the mind and take some deep breaths. And then we start um, I just start getting information. So for example, with this client, the message I got was to ask her how she's doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so I'm just kind of taking notes, and she went through the physical stuff, but I kept hearing ankles, ankles. And so I asked her, anything with your ankles? And she said, well, I had surgery on one of them and they're both fairly swollen off and on right now. And so the message for me was, we'll come back to that. Just make a
Hmm.
note,
Hmm.
we'll come back to it.
Hmm.
And so then we move on, and I love my sessions to be very a co-creation,
Hmm.
so that because I love when clients can practice seeing in their mind's eye rather than me just telling them what I see. So I encourage them at the beginning of a session to tell me whatever pops up, whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you sense or feel in your body, let me know. It's all
Hmm.
significant.
Right.
Oftentimes they'll discount something. Why am I thinking about grandma's kitchen? Or, why am I thinking about a spatula or something? But it's all significant. And so I very much encourage clients to let me know what they're seeing. And so as we progress with this certain client that I'm using as an example, there was a butterfly, and I can't remember if she saw it or if I saw it first, but next thing we're both seeing the same butterfly with the same colors, and then we
Hmm.
went into
Hmm.
each of those colors, and each of the shapes on the wings had a message for her. And so we dove into looking at, okay, what do the circles mean? And each thing was important
Hmm.
was relevant to her intention for that session. And then we move on. And so I'm just very much allowing the guides to guide it. I'm having no preconceived notions. And so the client is either bringing information or I'm bringing in information that the guides are sharing. And next thing you know, I was guided to take her to the Akashic Records. And
Hmm.
so we walk in there, we both have a clear visual, the same visual of what's happening. And what comes out of that is a past life where she felt she had shackles on her ankles. and she was
Okay.
kind of imprisoned for her belief system, for
Mhm.
speaking about her beliefs. And so that evolved into her understanding, not just the ankle connection, but also one of her emotional things that she shared at the beginning was that she was struggling with her faith in God
Mhm.
recently. And so this past life had to do with she would speak about her faith and she was imprisoned for it. And so there evolved this understanding. We went to then after that life and some of her insights from that life.
Why she feels how she feels. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so interesting. A couple things come to me, like this idea of the co-creation is so important because if it's just you or me as readers giving what we receive, that's not super useful. The client has to be able to take it in, make sense of it, process it. It's like when people try and tell you their dreams and you're like, no, don't even bother. It's you, it makes sense to you. But if you go through with a person and unpack a dream, then the meaning gets teased out or the meaning becomes clear. So that idea of being so important to co-create. And then the other part, you said like we'll come back to it, and I have that same experience. The information now, so I want to say I often make this gesture like the information comes in, but actually it doesn't really come in. These are not the places of entry. It just comes in from everything, um and for me it all comes in like all at once, and then the client is sitting there and you can't just here's this and this and this and this. You have to sort of work through. It's like you're walking together on a pathway and you're sort of noticing the pieces as they come and taking your time, like as you mentioned, to just okay, and then let's explore this and let's explore this and circling back. And so this idea of working with the guiding vision, the first thing we receive, and then circling back maybe half hour into the reading and like, oh, there it is again, this framework that we work with, that is what the universe is saying. This is the most important thing for right now to look at.
Yes. And
Yeah.
thank you for bringing up that guiding vision, because that is something that I do before each session is go within and get a guiding vision and the guiding message that kind of goes along with the vision.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually very grateful when you say that you get it all kind of at once. I'm grateful that it kind of comes like a breadcrumb trail during the session. So I get the guiding vision, so kind of that overall,
Yes.
but during the session, then I'm so grateful that I kind of get it here and there and I feel just guided along with the client. But there does come a point inevitably in the session where they tell me, okay, now it's time to share the guiding vision. So it's
Yeah.
not necessarily right at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. What what do you do when you get a client? So it's wonderful and amazing to have clients who are like willing to go on the journey and be in the process with you. Um, if you get a client who's maybe really new to this kind of work, or maybe you get a client actually uh, who's really resistant to what you're I'm like, oh no, not one of the you're receiving it and they don't want to hear it, and yet it's your job to it's your pact with the universe to be the tube or the conduit, as opposed to telling the client what they want to hear, what they think they want to hear. How do you work around that feeling of like, okay, and this is not going to fly that easily for the person? How do you deal with that?
Right. Well, when it comes to the first part of your question, when it comes to someone who's just feeling very cautious and it feels like a lot of pressure that we're co-creating,
Yes.
because I tell them as well at the beginning when I'm telling them to share, I also say, if I'm asking you what you're seeing, it's just because your guides are wanting to coax you into connecting with them more and getting practice. But if you don't see anything, that's totally fine. Then
Yeah.
we'll just go with what I see. And so I take the pressure off of them. And so you can kind of sense too, as you're going along, if they're feeling comfortable or if it's making making them more nervous to even have that. So then we'll set that aside.
Yeah.
When it comes to, we all have defenses and resistances, no matter how much, no matter how educated, no matter how much experience, those are very real. And I respect that because our bodies and our minds know what we can handle at any
Mhm.
certain point in time. But like you said, if I'm getting the information from the guides, that means they're encouraging me to present it. And so I try to just balance respect for the individual and what they're ready, and plant seeds and offer up some information. And you can get a feel, I think it's helpful that I was a counselor in the past because you can kind of get a feel for what people are ready for and what they're not. But just planting the seeds in the right way. Um, I think the framing of the information is very important,
Mhm. Mhm.
offering it in a way that they can see that it might be helpful at this point in time.
Yeah, and not having like we're acting with love and compassion for everyone's human experience. And
Yeah.
also, like we plant the seed, but we don't come back to water it unless we're working with the client super long term. But really, it's that one moment in time when the person asks to connect with the universe comes in and provides like the most important information. And then we can trust that that soul, whoever that person is, like the universe has things well in hand. We don't have to fix people or control it or follow up on it. It's like maybe the seed that's planted won't start germinating for a month or 10 years. We don't know, but all we're here to do is this piece of providing what we are given for them. It's like a
Yes.
gift, and they can unwrap it or not or reject it. It's all their choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I see it as kind of like the guides are taking that opportunity, they've booked a
Right.
session. And so the guides are taking that opportunity, but then there's also an element of free will on the
Yes.
client's part. And the guides will continue to work with them.
Yes.
I feel like a session is just an ongoing process, just like anything in our life. And so things can unravel continuously after the session from the seed that was planted.
Yes. Um, when you are working with your own life, like I'm always in process in this practice, some of the, working with the rose or the guides or the guiding vision or all many, many tools that we both have different tools, but we use lots of them. And how do you think about, like, I remember at first I would get a piece of guidance and I would be so excited. This is, decades ago. And then attempt to like make that one work. And then I'd get the next piece of guidance and then I'd really try hard to make that one work. And now it's more just like these are pieces of the puzzle coming in, and it's more of a tapestry feeling or this big this flow feeling of I don't have to be so clingy or needy to the one thing. It's always coming in. How does that work for you? That idea of how you're running your life based on receiving guidance?
Yes, well, in beautiful universe fashion, the way you say that, because one of the images I've had in meditation recently is a tapestry, like
Ah,
one of those
okay.
old fashioned, you've got the yarn or whatever coming down, and then you've got the things weaving
Mhm.
through. And so I tend to get a lot of visuals in meditation, and I keep track of everything, which I encourage everyone to do because you think it means nothing, but it means something.
Okay.
But so that tapestry thing has come up quite a bit. And I think the energies are changing so quickly um, on Earth that what worked 2 strings ago isn't
Mhm.
necessarily going to work anymore. It's like
Mhm.
you got the visual or the guidance that you needed at that moment, but clinging to it will just stop your progress. And
Perfect.
so
Yes.
it's a releasing and a surrender, because the next thread that comes through is completely new,
Right.
vibrant, and different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way. That's it. And it's interesting that we had that tapestry connection. That's not a word I would normally use. And in fact, I was kind of like, why is this? I don't want to say tapestry. Why is this jumping into my head? I
It
wanted to
was
use different.
perfect.
So we're just tracking on that. Um, and in terms of what you like to do as your favorite, like I like to do clairvoyance and I like to work with the guides. And um, I, you know, I can do all the other things, but those are like my easiest, super simple, like so top of the ability area. What are your ones that you find like, yep, this is my favorite right now, at least?
Just first of all, surrendering,
Good.
before a session, and before my meditation, just surrendering that I'm not in control, and I don't want to be in control or in charge, because the guy I trust my guides with my life, and that makes me feel very emotional, but I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that we have that spirit assistance, and we all have it. And so people, um, until they can tune in on their own, until they can feel with confidence, it's important to reach out and connect. But so first of all, just surrendering that I'm not in control and I have no preconceived notions about how the session is going to go. But it seems like up until now, one thing I can count on is just that I will get the visuals. I get the visuals and I get the feelings, like
Mhm.
the ankle thing that I mentioned earlier. It's just ankles. It's just like a flashing sign in my mind until I say it. Um,
Right.
and and I trust that I will be guided, that they will take me to where the client needs to go.
So, in using the tapestry idea again, um, you are following along a thread in your own receiving that's taking you on this space that the universe would like you to explore with the client. So
That's
that's
a
pretty
beautiful way
cool.
to
Yeah,
put it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, anything else you'd like to share with folks, or that's been on your mind? It can, whatever is popping into your mind, you can say it if there's something there.
I think just to express that, outwardly, life on planet Earth can look very difficult right now. But I have a firm and strong belief that we are headed to great places, to great things, and that things have to get ugly, if you want to say, before they can fall away, so that the new systems, the new way of being, which is love and acceptance and
Mhm.
oneness,
Right.
before that can arise. So I am a person of great hope. I am here, I believe, to offer that hope to others, to help them to trust themselves and their own guidance and intuition, and to grow that within
Mm.
themselves.
Yeah, I do agree. It's been a bumpy couple years. It's been a bumpy life for a lot of people, and yeah, we're just my process now is bring on the bumps, let me know what they are, and release them as fast as they come in,
Yes.
and then go from there. And trusting also, like you said, trusting the guides are there, and also trusting our, for me, trusting our infinite nature as souls takes a lot, and our oneness nature as collective soul, for me, takes a lot of the pressure off. Like, you know, each of us like, what? We have to do this all ourselves? Like, no, we're all part of oneness doing this together, which is great.
Yes, and that's what, when I got emotional earlier, you know, just feeling that oneness, the world that we can't see, the
Yeah.
reality that we can't see, to me is so much more real than the one we can. And that is what I'm so grateful for, the guidance and the support that's held there.
Well, Laura, thank you so much, and I will put the contact should be below. Or thank you so much for being with us today, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.